MOvember Day 3 video, and this I'm going to do a bunch of stuff out of this book by Pete Walker, and I will probably pull upon that book, which is his The Tao of Feeling, or The Tao of Feeling, and but for this video, lately I've been running a course, a 10-week complex post-traumatic stress course, based on the tools out of this book of Pete's and some of the self-compassion tools of Kristen Nev. But for this video, I wanted to talk about, what are some of the things that you can put into your head and start to memorize to combat the critical attacks that can happen from an inner critic and outer critic. In past MOvember campaigns, I've sort of read out the inner and outer critic, and I might do another version of those. But just for today, for something to the point, is, what can you start to play in your head other than for you 12-steppers, the Serenity Prayer, that can sort of combat the negative programming and messaging that we got from our childhood after we've soothed our nervous system. So after we've done our box breathing or our sort of muscle relaxing, this is some of the stuff, and it's from Toolbox number 3, Suggested Internal Responses to Common Critical Attacks. And this is by Pete Walker. So the attacks of the critic often operate below the radar of self-awareness. Unless we can identify them, we are at their mercy and helpless to deconstruct them. Once we learn to recognize inner critic attacks, the simple techniques of thought stopping and thought substitution are powerful tools in short-circuiting the critic. There are two categories of attacks. Perfectionism attacks fueled by toxic shame create chronic self-hate and self-flagellation, and endangerment attacks fueled by fear, and they create hypervigilance and anxiety. So for perfectionism attacks, 1, perfectionism. My perfectionism arose in an attempt to gain safety and support in my dangerous family. Perfection is a self-persecutory myth. I do not have to be perfect to be safe or loved in the present. I am letting go of relationships that require perfection. I have a right to make mistakes. Mistakes do not make me a mistake. Every mistake or mishap is an opportunity to practice loving myself in the places I've never been loved. 2, all or nothing black and white thinking. I reject extreme or overgeneralized descriptions, judgments, or criticisms. Statements that describe me as always or never, this or that, are typically grossly inaccurate. Self-hate, self-disgust, and toxic shame. I commit to myself. I am on my side. I am good enough. I am a good enough person. I refuse to trash myself. I turn shame back into blame and disgust and externalize it to anyone who shames my normal feelings and foibles. As long as I am not hurting anyone, I refuse to be shamed for normal emotional responses like anger, sadness, fear, or depression. I especially refuse to attack myself for how hard it is to completely eliminate the self-hate habit. Micromanagement, worrying, obsessing, looping, and over-futurizing. I will not repetitively examine details over and over. I will not endlessly second-guess myself. I cannot change the past. I forgive all my past mistakes. I cannot make the future perfectly safe. I will stop hunting for what could go wrong. I will try to control the uncontrollable. I will not micromanage myself or others. I work in a way that is good enough, and I accept the existential fact that my efforts sometimes bring desired results and sometimes they do not. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Unfair devaluing comparisons. To others or to your most perfect moments. I refuse to compare myself unfavorably to others. I will not compare my insides to their outsides. I will not judge myself for not being at peak performance all the time. In a society that pressures us into acting happy all the time, I will not get down on myself for feeling bad. 6 is guilt. Feeling guilty does not mean I am guilty. I refuse to make my decisions and choices out of guilt. Sometimes I need to feel the guilt and do it anyway. In the inevitable instance when I inadvertently hurt someone, I will apologize, make amends, and let go of my guilt. I will not apologize over and over. I am no longer a victim. I will not accept unfair blame. Guilt is sometimes camouflaged fear. I am afraid, but I am not guilty or in danger. 7 is shoulding. I will substitute the words want to for should and only follow this imperative if it feels like I want to, unless I am under legal, ethical, or moral obligations. 8 is overproductivity, workaholism, and busyholism. I am a human being, not a human doing. I will not choose to be perpetually productive. I am more productive in the long run when I balance work with play and relaxation. I will not try to perform at 100% all the time. I subscribe to the normalcy of vacillating along the continuum of efficiency. And 9 is harsh judgments of self and others, name calling. I will not let the bullies and critics in my early life win by joining and agreeing with them. I refuse to attack myself or abuse others. I will not displace the criticism and blame that rightfully belongs to my original critics onto myself or current people in my life. I care for myself. The more solitary, the more friendless, the more unsustainable I am, the more I will respect myself. That's a quote by Jane Eyre. Now, endangerment attacks, Pete makes the point when he's working on the inner and outer critic to say that you can make a hell of a lot of progress on the perfectionism with building self-esteem and self-compassion, but endangerment attacks can really linger, and it can be a real surprise to people that they still have that inherent terror around abandonment, or that something bad's going to happen to them. So he goes through a few of these and gives us some affirmations for those. So for endangerment attacks, 10 is, the next one is drasticizing, catastrophizing, and hypochondrizing. I feel afraid, but I am not in danger. I am not in trouble with my parents. I refuse to scare myself with the thoughts and pictures of my life deteriorating. No more homemade horror movies and disaster flicks. No more turning tiny ailments into tales of dying. 11, negative focus. I will not anxiously look. I will stop anxiously looking for, over noticing, and dwelling on what might go wrong or what might be wrong with me and life around me. Right now, I will notice, visualize, and enumerate on my accomplishments, talents, and qualities, as well as the many gifts life offers me, like music, film, food, beauty, color, books, nature, friends, etc. A time urgency. I am not in danger. I do not need to rush. I will not hurry unless it is a true emergency. I am learning to enjoy doing my daily activities at a relaxed pace. 13, disabling performance anxiety. I am reducing procrastination by reminding myself not to accept unfair criticism or perfectionism expectations from anyone. Even when I'm afraid, I will defend myself from unfair criticism. I won't let fear make my decisions. And the last one here is perseverating about being attacked. Unless there are clear signs of danger, I will thought stop my projection of past bullies and critics onto others. The majority of my fellow human beings are peaceful people. I have legal authorities to aid me in my protection if threatened by the few who aren't. I invoke thoughts and images of my friends and love and support. So that's Pete's toolbox number 3, suggested internal response for common inner critical attacks, and it sort of builds off the work. You'll find that in his book, Complex PTSD from Surviving to Thriving, also on his website, Pete_Walker.com, a lot of PDFs you can download. And so what I'm going to do is leave this for here. There's going to be plenty more stuff I do on Pete. I hope sort of calming this inner critic and some of those affirmations can be helpful. It is MOvember, day 3 video. I'm doing it on day 4 because I'm not being perfect today. And I look forward to doing one later this evening. I'll probably pick something else out of Pete's stuff tonight too. I think I'm on a roll, and I'll be running a Pete Walker complex stress group tonight. So I wish you all well. I hope you can be gentle with your heart today. It's MOvember, and if you can and are able to, please donate to my MOvember or any bloke doing MOvember. It's not often you can get us motivated, and so MOvember seems to do that. So please help if you can. Bye for now.